What's up, everybody? This is the PlayStation Lifestyle Underground podcast. We are the best and the only unofficial podcast of PlayStationLifestyle.net. I am Hugo Stiglitz. You can find me on PSN as Hugo Stiglitz _420. And I got two other guys with me today. You guys want to say hi?
Yep, I'm Steve Bitto, community manager for PlayStation Lifestyle. And you can find me on the PlayStation Network as TYLERxDURDEN.
And hey, I'm Juan Ibarra, and you can find me on PSN as JakMan1997. Just an average PSLS reader.
Awesome. And lately, I've been playing a whole bunch of different stuff. This week, actually, two or three demos, depending if you count betas as a demo. Uncharted Collection demo came out. Tried that. I just noticed that there was a Tearaway Unfolded demo. Tried that. Tried the Hardware Rivals beta. Also, I have been playing the Rainbow Six Siege beta as well. And as always, Project Cars. Recently been getting a lot more into Gran Turismo 6, though, because they just released a track maker for it. And it's actually pretty cool. It's like it only came out like the other night, but I've already been using it a lot, and it's really cool what you can do, because it's like an app where you actually kind of draw out the tracks with the touchpad and stuff, and it's pretty cool. Like, there's a lot you can do, and other than that, I've been playing Soma, which I've been really enjoying. It's a really cool game. Awesome story and atmosphere. Of course, Rocket League.
Always.
Little bit of the Phantom Pain, but ever since I finished the main story. It's still just such a fun game, though. Also a little bit of Killzone Online, and then on the Vita, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII a little bit lately. Starting to get into it. Still wicked early in the game. I've only put in like an hour and a half, but still a really fun game. Also been playing a little bit of Killzone Online, some Need for Speed Online. And yeah, I guess that's about it. What have you guys been playing lately?
I haven't played much, but I did play through Beyond Two Souls this past weekend.
Nice.
I didn't like it that much. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like the tale of two games. Like, the gameplay, I thought was pretty bad. I thought the pacing was terrible. But there was like a really good story and game, like, in there. They just organized it like terribly, and some of the gameplay choices were really weird and a little bit different than Heavy Rain, and I thought that they were just done worse. It's kind of unfortunate, because I thought it had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys play that game?
Oh yeah.
Nope. I'm a big fan of Heavy Rain, but I
really
never played it.
I really liked it. Like, I actually, other than there were a couple parts where it got a little slow, but for the most part, like, I really liked the pacing, and also the way it jumped around. I thought it did that really well, because everything kind of connected in a way that made sense. Like, you'd play a part in the past, and then that would kind of make you understand the way she would behave and react in the future, like parts. You know what I mean? So it's like I really liked how it kind of showed you that way, and also, I just really enjoyed the story too. But I don't know, what did you think about the more actiony parts? Like, because that was like something a little different from them. Like the shootout type stuff in Africa you did or whatever.
See, I hated everything. The scenes like and this isn't a spoiler or anything, Juan, so you don't have to cover your ears.
All right, good.
But so basically, like, the motion will slow down, giving you a chance to react to whatever is going to happen, like in the like combat sequences. And I thought that was done terrible. It was awful. It was so bad. You never know really if you're supposed to go toward the action or away from it. to dodge it. You either are supposed to dodge or block or like react to it. And it's literally impossible to know which one you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think I remember some of what you mean. Like, you end up dying kind of unexpected. Or, actually, you couldn't die in that game, huh?
Yeah, that's the other thing, is you never die. So it's like, I don't know. That drove me nuts. I want to be good at it, but I felt like you can't just be good at it. You have to kind of know what you're supposed to do by playing it once to do it perfectly.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that is one thing I didn't like about it either. Like, especially some of the, like, that hand-to-hand stuff. Like, I remember there was that training thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that I hated. Like, cause it was like, it was also wasn't super intuitive. Like, you'd hit the, you tried to do it in the direction you thought that would be to make the certain block or strike or whatever, and it like it would say no, you're supposed to do it a different way, and then you have to start it all over again. That part I didn't like. I was more talking about like some of the shootout stuff or in like Africa, like that stuff. I thought was at some points was actually kind of cool, and I definitely liked the direction of it.
I agree with that a lot, actually. I was glad that they put some little sequences of that in kind of to break up the game and kind of make it feel more actiony instead of always slowing the motion down, because the quick time events don't really handle that super well, combat.
Yeah.
So I like that, but I did not like the hand-to-hand stuff. I thought that was all.
Yeah, that stuff was pretty awful, but that's what I was meant when I was asking about the South African stuff, is more the shootout stuff. But
that was my favorite chapter, I think.
Really? I liked a lot of it.
The Navajo one.
Actually, I kind of really like the stuff later in the game when it gets a little more, But also, I really like the part where she was homeless. Like that was one of the slower parts of the game, but I really, really enjoyed that part. Like, I thought that was awesome.
See, I know you liked the way they jumped around. I thought it would have been much, much better had it just been chronological.
Yeah.
And I understand why they didn't do it, because like the action would come in like big spikes.
So what is this like? It's like
it,
out of order?
It would be just a little weird going through that many years.
Yeah, so like it's her life story, and it just jumps around from different events in her life. And I'm sure the reasoning behind that is because certain parts of her life are like all action oriented because of what's going on.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, like when it goes back to when she's a child or whatever, like that's not that exciting.
Yeah.
But it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
So I understand why they kind of went that direction, but I think they should have just done it better and made it chronological, and then added some like action sequences in as she's younger.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like if they went straight in a row, it would be kind of weird to go from being a little girl to being like full adult or whatever. Like, I'm not sure if it would have worked out too well linearly, but
the reason why I like that is because you have like one character, so you're like, it's character development. So jumping around in one person's story, like the thing you're playing her as an adult, like none of that is relevant to her as a child or a teen. So
it was though, because a lot of the stuff that they showed as a child, it gave the stuff when she was an adult context.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is that's how character development works. Like, it's chronological. So like she is like things that are happening to her when she's older. Like, obviously she doesn't know about them as a child, so everything you know about her in the future is kind of irrelevant. So had it been chronological, like each thing would have built upon each other to actually find out, where she's going. So when you play this chapter late in the game, everything that went into her past, So like I hated playing like her struggles later in life. Like I hated playing those early because I'm like, this is kind of dumb. I don't know why she's struggling so much.
Well, that's the thing is the things that they would play you in the past would usually directly influence the context of the stuff that happens in the future. So it wasn't like it was completely chronological. It was just that certain events as a child related to certain events as she was an adult differently. So they kind of broke it up that way so that it would give you a more specific context in the future than just going straight in a row. And I feel that, doing it that way just made it so that it was more fresh in your mind, to realize what she was going through. Because especially with the format it was, where, like, a chapter was, like, it could be long, or it wasn't super long. I think it actually kind of worked out well, because it's like, people might only play one chapter or two chapters, and I feel like because they split it up like that, it's actually kind of good to do it that way, because the most relevant stuff is grouped together. You know what I mean? Like, the most relevant parts of her life are, it's grouped together with, the part in the future that it actually directly influences in as far as her mood or her choices, or it gives you context. I felt, and that's why I kind of liked it, because it was definitely, you can tell that they definitely, like, thought a lot about which parts to put with which, and it's almost like they designed it that way from the start. Actually, I thought. I'm
sure they did, actually, but I don't know. I just really didn't like it. I felt like, had it been chronological, I think, you don't need the immediate context, because you're learning about this person and their entire life, So, like, everything you're learning, like, you're taking everything in as meaning. You don't need it to be, this happened to her as a child, so now you need to see this thing late in her life when a little teeny bit of that became relevant. Like, you'll know, because you know what she's been through, if it's chronological. But I see what you're saying, that they wanted that so it would be, like, more grouped better, so you didn't have to, like, really pay attention to everything.
Yeah, I think it's more designed in the idea that not everyone is going to play the game in one sitting, or like, they might play it over like a week or two. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's meant to be more easily digestible that way. Although I do think that, after you beat the game, I really do think that they should let you choose the chapters, because I think it would make, after you beat it, you should be allowed to say go and do it chronological if you want to, or even go backwards. Well, I guess backwards wouldn't work because at least not the ending, I guess. But it's like, I kind of wish they did do, like, a chapter select type mode that would let you just change the order to whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, that would be
after
interesting.
You beat it. But yeah, that would be, like, a good way.
That would actually be a good version of, like, a Let's Play. That's one that would actually make sense.
Yeah, like, it would be cool if they let you do that, because that just adds to the replayability, I think.
Right.
The other problem with it is the choices definitely don't count nearly as much as they did in Heavy Rain. I mean, most of the choices were just, like, dialogue related. It didn't really have too much of consequences or anything like that.
That drove me nuts too, was not so much that they didn't matter, but that some are, like, supremely important. But you never really know if, like, because 90% of the choices don't mean anything. You never know which ones, like, are really important.
Yeah, but, I mean, it still is no less choice than Walking Dead, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Walking Dead is no better, like, as far as the choices go.
I will say that is on my list of games that I tried to like and hated.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I still loved it, but yeah, no, it did kind of piss me off how, like, the choices were so meaningless in that game, and that game
it really is
so
like,
much credit in it.
It's Telltale in general, but yeah, Walking Dead is right at the top of that list.
Yeah, like, it is kind of like one of those games that gets so much credit, but really it's not all it's cracked out to be, I'd say. But
anyway, yeah, like, sorry for the diversion. We should probably let Juan tell us what he's playing.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I've been playing. I've been going back through my PS3 catalog and playing through some of that I just never got around to. And I recently finished Kingdom Hearts 2 for the second time, on PS3 though, for the first time. And I enjoyed that enough. And then I've started playing the Birth by Sleep game, which I played on PSP, but now on PS3. That's my PS3 stuff. And then PS4, I haven't played any of the Phantom Pain, but I have like 30 hours in that game, but I'm on like mission number 15 or so. So I'm not very far in that, and I haven't really played much. Some Rocket League here and there on PS3, yeah, PS4 obviously. PS Vita, I played some Spelunky and some Binding of Isaac because I got those games and I never really played them. So those are fun enough, and that's really it. There's nothing really that big, that major this time.
Yeah, I have Binding of Isaac and Spelunky, but I never tried Spelunky, and I didn't like Isaac. So
they're pretty good.
But, I don't know if you guys heard, but we're actually getting Broken Age for PS Plus next month, which I think is pretty cool because it's cross-buy, so we'll have it on Vita and PS4, which is really nice because I've always been interested in that game, but never took the dive on it. So it's I think that's a good.
I don't
good
recommend
game.
it on Vita. Just a heads up.
Really?
Yeah, I bought it
How come?
back when it came out, and I was like, "Oh, it's a great Vita game," and I played it. And the first act is good enough, you know. Well, it's my own opinion here, but first act and the second act are totally different games. Because the first act is genius, second act I didn't like at all. It was just the puzzles themselves were annoying. But the Vita version specifically, and the second act, around the end, there's a lot of action going on screen, and there's a lot of audio glitches, and there's some screen tearing and stuff, and there's a lot of like times whenever I would talk to someone in the game, and like the last like half hour of the Act 2, and like the main character wouldn't speak, but the person I was talking to would talk as if I did speak. I don't know, it was weird. There was a lot of glitches on the PS Vita.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun enough, and because it's cross-save, you could, I say start it on PS Vita if you want to, just finish it on PS4, yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you, yeah. I mean, plus, hopefully they did a patch.
Hopefully, yeah. I got it in like the first 2 weeks that it came out, so, and I played it and finished it in that time, so.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, but yeah, hopefully they patch that up. And there are some games that are like just completely different stories. You know, the day they come out, the week they come out, and then a couple months later, like you know, Battlefield 4, even that MMO Wander, which was like one of the biggest jokes ever when it released. Like people were calling it the worst PS4 game so far, and they actually just did another patch for it, and it's actually a lot better. So
yeah.
That's I guess that's the industry today. This is, you know, the internet has pretty much changed things big time.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you got whatever came out on day one was what you're stuck with.
Stuck with that, yeah.
It's good and bad, you know, that whole thing. But this week we wanted to talk about you know, PS Vita and you know, some of the comments that Shuhei made recently, also the possibilities of PS Vita 2, and we also wanted to discuss the new update for PS4, which is update 3.0. I don't know, what do you guys want to talk about first?
We could quickly skim through the update. It's not that major, so
yeah,
there's not a whole lot to talk about.
That works.
Yeah, so this week they added some. It's an update 3.0, which is like a big, you know, number, but we actually didn't get a whole lot of stuff. Like we got these new community stuff. Like there are now groups you can create. There are communities that you can create. There's also this other thing with, you know, events, which is basically events for certain games, which so far to me seems kind of cool. Like it's you know, it's a way to find out when a certain game is doing a special thing online, or like, you know, a double XP weekend or a certain contest, like stuff like that. Like seems pretty cool so far. Also, we have the ability to stream to YouTube, which I definitely like. I've always preferred YouTube to Twitch. I just don't like Twitch as a viewer. So it's like I'd probably rather stream on YouTube as well, but it's just nice to have options, I guess. Also, we can now save screenshots as PNG files, which are much better quality than the JPEGs that we have now.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like I know a certain person on PSLS that'll be very happy about that. He was always complaining about the screenshot quality. So yeah, it's just a nice addition because I actually take screenshots all the time. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, every now and then I will. I haven't in a while, but I will every now and then.
Yeah, definitely depends on the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially
I
with, like
do.
the photo mode and stuff being popular in several games. It's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like even in the Uncharted demo, it does have photo mode enabled, so it's like I was actually using it, even though it's only a 15-minute demo.
Yeah.
Pretty much. It is one of the better looking parts of the game, though, I'd say. So, yeah, I love those photo modes. I really wish more games would have it, but yeah, it is a nice subtle improvement to the PS4. And then the other thing, really the only other thing I can think of is the fact that the PS Plus cloud on PS4 is now 10 gigabytes instead of just 1.
That's the best news, I think.
For sure. That's what that's what it was to me too. Is like because I filled up mine over a year ago. Like
it's really they fill the thing up, and it's always annoying whenever the thing pops up that's like, oh, it couldn't save your data to the cloud or whatever. It's just,
yep.
Yeah.
Yes. After a while, it'll stop doing that because it fills up. But the problem with that is if you go to upload like a video clip or even like a screenshot, it won't work. It just won't do it, and it won't tell you why. It won't say that, oh, your upload list is full. That's why your video's not uploading. You just have to find that out the hard way, which is like searching on the internet. So it's like every time I try to upload a video, I have to delete one of those upload things from the upload list just to upload the video. And it's like then it'll fill up again, and so it's nice to have that problem gone.
Yeah, it's nice.
Because it's like it took me like there was a bunch of times where I uploaded a video several times before I figured out what the problem was. 'Cause it's like it was just like the last thing you would have thought of, that the list of uploads is full, therefore you can't add anything else to it. Just kind of a silly little thing, but it's like I looked at my save file amount. I'm already almost at 5 gigabytes, so it's like,
whoa,
that 1 gigabyte was never gonna be enough.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because for whatever reason, I think I mentioned it before, but they tripled or maybe even more the size of save files. They used to be like, maybe 2,000 kilobytes, which is basically 2 megabytes or 3 megabytes. Now they're pretty much a standard 10.49. Like if you look at your save files, almost all of them 10.49, which I don't know why they would all of a sudden be a standard size and be so much bigger than they used to be.
Yeah.
In this and that, but because of that, the 1 gigabyte was a joke. You know what I mean? Like it was never going to be enough, and so it's really nice that they increased it, because it was a problem that probably should have been fixed from the start. But hey, it's all good now.
Yeah, it's nice to have it now, at least.
I mean, so it's like it's kind of a lame update for a 3.0, but I don't know. There's not a whole lot as far as features that I really want.
Folders.
PS4, other than
right.
just
See,
folders,
I'm surprised there wasn't like one big thing that people really wanted that they didn't, like folders or something they didn't even know they wanted. Like this all is kind of like. It's not necessarily stuff people were like really clamoring for, but it's the type of stuff that you kind of just made your life a little bit easier, like the streaming, the communities.
Yeah.
Like it's all not necessary but nice and makes the experience a little more enjoyable, but nothing groundbreaking, which kind of was disappointing.
Well, I mean, I'd say the cloud save thing is something that people, really needed but might not have known that they needed.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people don't realize that thing is full. Like, and it probably is for a lot of people, even if you don't play a ton of games. It's just that it's so easy to fill it up. So I think that you could say that about that feature. But other than that, yeah, like it is kind of surprising that that we haven't got folders, we haven't got friends coming online as a notification yet. Like those are the features that I really want, but the main one I really want is just the ability to install games to an external hard drive, because I've been having to delete games to fit new games, and it pisses me off, because it's like I got a 1.5 terabyte hard drive just so I would like hopefully not have to deal with that type of thing, and it's already happening, and it's like we're not even 2 years in.
Yeah.
So it's like since the biggest you can put in PS4 is only 2 terabytes, it's like the only other option to not have to be deleting stuff all the time is external. Xbox One got it like a year ago, and it's because they can't upgrade their hard drives, but even though we can, we're not any better off because we're still limited to 2 terabytes, and everyone's going to fill that up. Like it's really not as much as people realize.
Yeah,
like
the only reason why it doesn't bother me that much is because when you go in your games like library, like you can immediately download anything you had downloaded before. So
yeah,
it's
but
not
downloading
like on
is
PS3
really slow.
was kind of a pain to dig through your downloads to kind of find this game or search it, I
That's
guess,
terrible.
and re-download it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain. Now it's very easy to just go in your library. It's, alphabetical. Click on the game you want, and it just re-downloads to your PlayStation.
Yeah, no. See, I hate that because there's a lot of people like myself that don't have fast internet connections. So it's like, if I just want to play a game real quick that I used to play, like I don't want to have to wait 6 hours or even a day to play it. You know what I mean? So it's like I'd rather just have them all installed. Like it's because then it actually feels like a collection. To me, it doesn't feel like I actually own it if it's gonna take that long for me to get it. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. I just really like the idea of being able to play a game right away. So that's why like mostly I've been getting retail games because those install in like 2 minutes. But even with those, just like the update patches might take like a couple hours, especially nowadays when we got games with 20 gigabytes worth of patches and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like I really hope they give us that feature. And it's like I don't even know if there's that many people asking for it because it's like a lot of people just go to you can upgrade the hard drive. And I'm sure that's a good option for a lot of people, but for it is something that everyone pretty much a lot of gamers will still fill up a 2 terabyte hard drive by the end of the generation.
More than likely, yeah.
And I think especially towards the end, it's going to get to the point where even if you're not like me, who I hate deleting anything. Like there's going to be points where like you're going to have to delete good games that you really don't want to, just because it's really not that much. We're going to be getting game after game after game this generation. It seems like it's like we already have a ton of great games, and I think it's just going to keep adding up and be to the point where even 2 terabytes is not going to be nearly enough. And so yeah, like I definitely want that feature like big time.
Yeah,
and it's like they've been awesome so far with the PS4 updates though. Like I mentioned before, like the like one of those features that you didn't know you wanted, or at least some people didn't know they wanted. I did, but the whole custom button thing, like I think that's a huge addition, and I'm still really happy about that. So it's like I think they've done a good job so far updating. It seems like they've definitely
still a good update.
Yeah,
definitely good. Not great, but good.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to look over to what the Xbox One's doing, and those updates are like they're consistent and they're usually pretty big compared to PS4, which we've had like two or three major updates in the last like 2.5 years or so. It's just it's very inconsistent, and I think that's why everyone just sees it as a negative update already. They don't see it for what it is; they see it for what it is compared to the competition.
Yeah, I think it's more just that they're giving us this new stuff that no one asked for, but then they're not giving us stuff like folders that like tons of people are asking for.
Yeah.
Or just the ability to put music or games, or videos on your actual hard drive. Like instead, you have to hook up an external.
Yeah, that's
a lot of people don't like.
And
it's like.
And you're right, like, and not only that, but it's especially because people are they don't feel like they're asking for a lot with those things. It's not like like the people that are just like clamoring for backwards compatibility now. Like, that's asking for too much. But like folders or like cleaning up the new cross media bar type thing,
Mhm.
That's not really asking for a whole lot. That should be somewhat easy, especially if you put all your resources toward that.
Yeah, especially because one of the last updates, they did that thing where you can cut it down to 15, and then just use your library for the rest. And it's like, I hate doing that though. So it's like, unless they give me folders, it's like I'm just gonna leave it how it was on day one, because it's like I just don't like dealing with the library. And it's not like a huge thing to complain about, but it's like I do kind of wish that I could group stuff up, because I mean, that's how I did it on PS3. Like, I had it by genre, basically. I do the same on Vita. So it's like, it would be nice to have folders. But it's not like a huge thing, I don't think. I think some people have blown it out of proportion. But the backwards compatibility thing is like, I don't think it would be too hard for them to do at least PS1 and PS2 compatibility.
Which I think PS2 is coming, if I remember.
There's been definite hints about it, yeah.
And people denied some of them, but from what we saw, from the tips we were getting, it does seem like there's something going on. And then, hard to say what it is exactly, though.
Yeah, and doesn't the Star Wars PS4 come with, like, some PS2 games with it?
Well, it comes with, like, PS2, yeah, they're, like, upgraded
they're ports,
for PS4.
Though.
Like, kind of,
they're ports. Though.
Okay, those are ports.
And there's actually
yeah.
There's Super Nintendo games. I think Pod Racer Revenge, was that Nintendo 64?
Yeah, that was 64.
Yeah. No. Racer's Revenge? That's PS2. N64 was the original Pod Racer.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking of Pod Racer.
It was awesome that they're bringing all of those. And I also I can't remember if it was Podcast Beyond or the Gamescast or who was talking about it, but they were talking about how Star Wars, Super Star Wars A New Hope is coming, but the other two haven't been announced. They were wondering if they had plans to bring like a whole staple of classic Star Wars games, or how that was going to work. So maybe you're right. Maybe this is just kind of like the first tease at that.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be cool. It's like, I did see that they're bringing I think it was Starfighter or something, one of the it was kind of like the Rogue Squadron. Yeah, well that'll be cool, because I really liked Rogue Squadron on N64, so and that Racer's Revenge would probably be cool too. But yeah, PS2 compatibility would be nice. Although I would say it would be a little bit better if they could do discs instead of the how it was on PS3, where it's like you only had that small selection of PS2 classics.
Yeah. And
you had to download them and pay for them and stuff like that. I think it would be cool if they did it with discs, but I'm not holding my breath for that one. Same thing with PS1. It's like, I don't even know if the PS4 can play... the PS4 can't play CDs, can it?
I don't
think it can.
I don't think so.
So it's like, full PS1 compatibility will basically never happen then. Like, because I don't think it's a simple thing they could update with software. I think it's the actual lens, or the laser in the actual disk drive. So I think that's why you can't do CD. So yeah, but it would be nice if there was actual, full PS2 compatibility.
But here's the thing, though. Do you think that would be good, or would that be almost worse? I think that would be worse, to do a half step instead of the full step.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the vocal majority would make Sony look real bad for just doing PS2 and not PS3 in response to the Xbox One getting Xbox 360 backwards compatibility.
Well, I mean, frankly, anyone that acts like that is kind of an idiot, because PS3 compatibility is never going to happen. It's just not. Like, people should know by now that PS3 is just so... The architecture is so unbelievably different. It's just that it was never going to be on the table. And it's like... It's kind of... It shows you how ignorant a lot of people are, that they see that Xbox is doing it. Oh, why isn't PS4 doing that? It's just never going to happen. I think, if they do the PS2 backwards compatibility, and then maybe give us the PS1 classics from the store as well, which does pretty much cover most of the PS1 library, except the best-selling game ever on PS1, Gran Turismo. I've always thought it's so weird that they don't have the number one seller on PS1 as available as a PS Classic. But like I was saying, if they come out with the PS1, the PS2 compatibility, and then say, we would love to do PS3 backwards compatibility, but it's simply not possible. The architecture is too different. The emulator would be so inefficient that it would just not run, which is the truth. I mean, you can't, even the most powerful computers, PCs, can't run a PS3 emulator because it's just so wacky compared to x86. Like it's just so different, and it's like when Naughty Dog, when they first got Last of Us running on PS4, just the basic port, it was like it was like 5 frames per second on a piece of hardware that is 6 times more powerful. So that gives you kind of an idea of how, different the PS3 was and how inefficient it would be to port it over to the PS4. Because it's like even just the hardware itself it's just completely different. Like the cell is a completely different setup.
I think the average person does not know that much. Not nearly that much.
True, but I know that a lot of people
just says, the average person who just picks it up says, "Oh, great! They gave me PS2 in response to the Xbox One getting Xbox 360. Like, I only want PS3 because the only games I still have are my PS3 games."
Yeah.
And so they see it more as as Sony getting cheap with them instead of Sony doing something nice for them.
Well, see, I wouldn't even worry about that type of people, because those are the type of people that complain about the free games every month, and it's like those people are going to be complaining anyways, and they still own the console, so it's like they've already pretty much got their money. It's like those are the.
That is a good point.
I don't think Sony should make any decisions based around that type of people that'll complain over nothing, and then just the complete sense of entitlement. So it's like, although those people might react that way, I don't think Sony should care at all about those people, and I don't think they will. I think they know better. Yeah, and it is like, I think more people than you would think do actually know, like, that the PS3 and the Cell was just like a very different piece of hardware, and like a lot of people knew that the games run a little better on 360 last gen because the PS3 is just so different. And like, even though it was actually more powerful, like most of the people I know that aren't really into gaming but just play like a little Call of Duty do know about that stuff, like, because when they're deciding which console to get the Call of Duty on, or like when they play Call of Duty on a PS3 and they're like, hey, why isn't this as good as it is on Xbox? And it's like, a lot of people are aware of it just from multi-platform games alone. So it's like, I think there would be like a good amount of people that would realize that it's not just Sony blowing smoke. Like they are telling the truth when they say that the PS3 backwards compatibility just isn't something that's feasible. Like, and I think most people would actually just be happy to be able to play PS2 and PS1 games instead of nothing, basically. So it would be very nice. My PS2 is very broken, has been for years, so it's like I do have some PS2 games on my shelf that it's like they're never going to get played again unless backwards compatibility, or unless I go buy a PS2, but that probably ain't gonna happen.
I just remembered, I'm gonna add to the games I've been playing because I forgot about this. I got my PS2 out and I was playing Tony Hawk Underground, and that was fun. That was great.
Really?
Great game.
Because of that?
Compared to the trash that has come out this week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that game doesn't look too good, and it's like $60 for what looks like a $15 downloadable game. It's kind of messed up. And it's like, I haven't even heard how it plays, but I heard it was wicked glitchy though. Like,
yeah, that developer, I didn't have faith in them from the start because I played the HD remake of Pro Skater, and it was really, really bad. It was almost it was less glitchy than what I've seen from 5, but no, it was still bad.
Yeah, I actually have that, and it's like, it's been years since I've played a Tony Hawk game, but I used to be really, really good, and at that one, I was horrible at it.
It's just, it's not right. Like, the physics in the game aren't correct, and the weight of the character isn't right. It feels all off.
Yeah. Yeah, there was something weird about it, and it's like, I didn't think to blame the game. I thought it was just me, but...
No, if you go back, I'm sure you'll probably still be as good as you remember. Maybe a little bad, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I used to be a beast at Tony Hawk's 3, but Yeah, onto Vita. So Shuhei made the comment that, one of the reasons why the Vita basically failed is because of the current climate with, mobile gaming and this and that. And it's like, I love Shuhei, but that's a load of bullshit. Like, I mean, look at the 3DS. The 3DS came out, it sold poorly, so they decided to double down, drop the price to $150, and then now it is what it is now, which is like one of the, hugest best-selling handhelds, in a long time. Like, I don't know how many it's sold, but I think it's regularly selling pretty well. Like, I think there are some weeks in Japan that it sells more than any of the home consoles, and it's like, there's just no way that you can say that Sony didn't have a chance to succeed. It's basically like Colin and Greg said on their new PlayStation cast, Sony killed the Vita. They did. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And it's, from the price, it's from the price of the memory cards, which I think people do kind of blow out of proportion. Like, I don't think that's as huge of a deal as people say, but it is a thing. And it's just like the main thing I think is just the lack of support, like as far as first party developers and games, and it's just like, it's unfortunate because it's such an amazing machine. I still love the thing. It's just that I think it could have been so much more, and it's really a shame. I mean, I know you guys both own Vitas. What do you think they could have done differently?
So, first, I kind of disagree with the comparison to 3DS. I think the two markets are completely different, and
yeah,
I understand what you're saying. That
so
there's definitely was a strategy. Yeah, I agree. I agree about that part. That the mobile market, that's bullshit. There definitely was a group of people that wanting to buy the Vita, a much bigger group than actually ended up buying the Vita, and had nothing to do with mobile. And the strategy they could have taken was, definitely doable. I don't understand why they didn't do it, or why they didn't even move to do it. That it's really baffling, especially. So we'll get back to, I digressed, but we'll get back to what you're saying about, what they could have done differently. The number one top thing they could have done differently, the proprietary memory, and like Colin and Greg spoke about. I agree too. That is just baffling. It could not have cost that much to make. So why has the price never come down on that stuff?
It has, actually, pretty significantly.
But not enough, though. I mean, still like a 32.
No,
what is it though? Like 60 or something?
It's still not comparable to 50 or 60. It's still not comparable to micro SD, but nothing's going to be. I mean, those things have been the standard for a couple years now.
Yeah. So why don't they use that in the Vita?
The thing
though?
is even compared to like the memory sticks, which weren't proprietary for the PSP, it's really not that much more expensive compared to those. Like, although it's different sizes, but like the amount of space you needed for the PSP, like it's similar to that sort of situation. So,
but at the end of the day, the cost of that is preventing people from buying a Vita. So that was a huge mistake, going that route.
They should have had him from the start.
Maybe for some people, but it wasn't for me. Like, I never worried about it just because. My first strategy was kind of a failure. Like, I was trying to get 16 gigabyte cards because it's like when they were on sale, you could get them for $20 or 30 at the most. So it's like I ended up with 4 of them, and I was like, all right, I'm doing this wrong. So I got a 64 for $90, and it's like I do know that at one point the 32 was like $100, so they did come down in price for sure. And it's like, because at one point the 32 was more expensive than I paid for the 64.
I'm pretty sure the 32 is
like
$80 though, isn't it?
No, I'll look it up on Amazon right now. But if the 64 is 90, I'd be shocked if the 32 was 80. Like, to be honest, but I mean the main thing is like. It's a Vita, it's portable, so it's like you don't really need that huge memory card. Like, I think a lot of people would get it just for convenience. Like I was mentioning earlier with the PS4 hard drive, it's like, you don't want have to download your games. like, you know, you want them to be there, and I think that's like the main motivation for getting it's $60 on Amazon right now.
Okay.
Like that's the main motivation for getting one of those super big cards. But like you know, a 16 gigabyte, you can fit like a pretty good amount of games, especially if you're playing like some indies as well, like, you know, not just big AAA stuff, which are like 3 gigs each, which understandably you can fill that up very quick, like, and then you can only have like a couple games, like maybe 5 games on there. But if you're combining it with some smaller stuff, like you can actually fit quite a bit of stuff on a 16. So it's like I don't really see how it's like adding another $30 onto a $200 console is such a huge deal, especially when if you get the retail games for the Vita, which are a little more expensive than like some of the sales on the PS Store, which is why like I have so many digital ones. Those don't take up any space on your Vita, other than just like a little bit of space for the save file and maybe some updates. So it's like I do think that the whole memory card thing is blown a little bit out of proportion. But the other thing is, and I think the reason why they went with a proprietary card is because they didn't want people hacking it. And the PSP got hacked to Kingdom Come. I mean, it was known as like a very, very hackable console. And understandably, Sony hated that, and they succeeded in getting rid of it. Like, no one hacks the Vita now. Like, no one can do it. I don't think but nobody does do it. At least not like they did with PSP. I know that.
Yeah, and you know, to their credit, they figured that out. But at the same time, that's partially because no one even has it. You know, if they wanted to go to that route, they should have definitely made it not a barrier to entry for the people that actually just want it. Which that's what the proprietary memory became. It's a barrier to entry for the people that just want to buy it.
Yeah.
See, I really think that the initial price of the console is more of a barrier than the memory cards, because when it started it was $250, and that I think it was too much from the start. Like now it's $200, it's a little more reasonable, and it's like you add in a memory card and a couple games, like you're looking at $250 or $300. That's a little more understandable.
Like I've seen it on sale. The Borderlands bundle's been on sale for $170 a couple of times.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually pretty regular on Amazon.
See, yeah, that I think is definitely a lot better. Like, I really think that it was just a combination of things. Like, I don't think you can say it's like mostly the memory cards or. I'd actually point more to just the console costing $250 is probably the bigger thing, plus the cost of the memory cards.
If you remember, like when they announced that being the price point, people were shocked. People were so happy. People were ecstatic that was going to be the launch price. They were shocked. They couldn't believe it. Yeah, was that E3? The place erupted. Like, people were so happy, and then when they announced the memory cards, that's when people started reeling back. That they weren't happy about that. And Colin Gregg actually mentioned that too. But I do remember that conference, both conferences, the NGP conference, which I stayed up because that was Japan, so I stayed up all night for that one. But like the memory card was a huge issue, and kind of going away from like price, because there's only so much they could do with that. And I think the memory cards, they should just broke even on them instead of, obviously they had to be making some kind of profit on that stuff. But the games and the content, like that first year of games, a lot of missteps with that stuff. What do you guys think about that?
I didn't have a Vita the first year, but looking back, I feel like it was... Well, I don't know. I'm saying it was strong, that's only because I'm looking from the outside... Or because I was looking from the outside in. But what launch titles came with the Vita?
Well, see, the launch titles were great. The launch was impressive. What was it? Was it Uncharted?
Wipeout.
I remember Dynasty Warriors.
Was Gravity Rush one of them?
I think.
No, that came a little bit later, but it was a window. Maybe it was a launch window.
No clue.
I think so. Yeah, like I thought Gravity was pretty early.
Unit 13. Like those games are all great. Unit 13 is fantastic. I love that game.
But it's like Sony put in all their eggs in one basket, and they're like, here you go, here's a bunch of great games, and after that they just stopped. Like it just the AAA support for the more common and general audience just disappeared. Like it was just gone. I mean, there's some great games on there that are Japanese, like visual novels such as Danganronpa and Persona 4 and stuff. But but those don't appeal to the general audience. So it was just a little odd that they would drop all of their support like that.
But you gotta wonder too, like, why the hell did that? And I hate ripping off Colin and Greg on all this stuff, but that nihilistic. Why the hell did they make Resistance in Call of Duty?
That's right. That's terrible.
Like, why the hell did that happen?
Yeah,
both of those games were like system sellers. Call of Duty,
they
especially,
could have been so much better. Yeah.
Call of Duty on the go, like. And you hear them now. They're just making the new Black Ops 3 just multiplayer for PS3 and Xbox 360. Like, why the hell wasn't that an option? Just make an online only. Like, so you sit at home on your Wi-Fi and play Call of Duty. Or
genius,
at work or whatever if you're on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. The dual analog sticks make it so much easier. And Hugo, you're a huge Killzone fan. That Mercenary proved that you can definitely do a first-person shooter with those short sticks.
Yeah, Mercenary was great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know I don't know if I mentioned it when I was talking about what I've been playing lately, but yeah, Killzone Online, and I have been playing that Call of Duty, which is like, I don't think it's like completely terrible, but it's still not anywhere near as good as it should have been. Like it's a Call of Duty game. Like you should have expected a lot more from it. Like I'm not even saying graphically. Like as far as I'm concerned, the graphics could be what they are, but it needed a better frame rate. It needed better hit detection and just like a better gameplay feel. And it's like nihilistic, man. So it's like it's all right, but it kind of feels like PS2 almost. Like, you know what I mean? Like kind of old school shootery, like just disjointed kind of messiness. And it's definitely not the Vita. Like a lot of people point to the small sticks. That's not the case at all, because you play Killzone Mercenary and that plays every bit as good as a home console shooter. Like,
yeah.
Right.
And looks almost as good too. Like Killzone, like that's a shining example of what the Vita can do and why it is such a tragedy that Sony abandoned it the way it did.
I was gonna say, and that's really, it's just sad. The game's great, but it makes you sad because you see the squandered opportunity with like Call of Duty and Resistance, that they waited till way too late to make the good first-person shooter for Vita.
Yeah, you can tell that they rushed the Resistance a little bit, and they definitely rushed Call of Duty. Like, I don't know if you guys heard the story behind that, but basically Nihilistic had like 3 or 4 months to make it. Like,
terrible.
That's why they didn't show Call of Duty Declassified at all at that E3, and it was coming out that like November or that fall, and it's like that's because they hadn't even got a developer signed on yet to do it. Like, fuck you, Activision. I swear to God, I hate Activision so much. They're
and then
the worst
Resistance was
ever.
Was less than a year later, I think.
Yeah. No. Resistance came out before Call of Duty.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No. Actually, I think Resistance came out around that E3. It's like then they finished that, and then they have to go right into Call of Duty. I'm pretty
remember
sure
both were like really rushed, and they had like no time on either.
And it's like Resistance was the game that like almost had me get a Vita early on, like, because it's like I love Resistance. Resistance Retribution is still probably my favorite handheld game of all time, and so it's like I almost got it, but it's like there was a couple things with the Vita. It's just the fact that you couldn't plug into a TV really pissed me off, and then the whole 3G thing kind of I didn't like that, because it's like
that was
they
weird.
said,
I don't know
oh,
why
it
they
has
had
3G. Kind of make it sound like, oh, that you can basically play online wherever you go with the Vita, but it really didn't work like that at all. And I heard that that the 3G connection wouldn't even support multiplayer. It's like, what's the point of it then? so you can send messages to your friend. Like, that's so dumb. Why would you pay a service, and it was expensive too. Like the actual fee was it was like having a separate half cell phone, basically.
A cell phone that can make phone calls.
I mean, like that's why I'm glad that by the time I got a Vita, mobile hotspotting was such like a prominent technology that it's like it's actually free with my service plan, and it just works. Like, and it's faster than my home internet connection. Like,
same here.
Right.
And it's so it's like I guess I did get a Vita at a good time, which is why I love it so much. But like, yeah, early on, I mean, they did a lot of things wrong. Plus the whole PS3 remote play thing. Like, they came out with it, advertising as this game that you can play, on a handheld, you can play PS3 games, full PS3 games, and then it never happened. Like, I think there was only a couple games that supported it, like Shadow of the Colossus and Ico. Like the only real big PS3 games that could do it.
Yeah.
And like, so it's like that's another way that they kind of screwed up, and they got sued over some other stuff too, with the Vita. So it's like that's why like
it was I think it was the remote play actually. Yeah, it was PS3.
False advertising, I believe.
I think it was some other stuff too, maybe, but I don't remember. But yeah, like they had to pay out money because of that. So it's like there's a lot of reasons that they screwed up with the Vita, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't have made it a success. But the problem is like Sony was doing badly as far as like some of the other parts of it, like their computer division, like they're losing money and in debt. Like I think they're still in the negative now, although they're obviously doing a lot better thanks to PS4. Yeah, like I definitely think they are like still in a lot of debt, but they're also making a lot of profit, probably catching up. But it's like because they were in such a crappy situation then, it's like they gave up on the Vita so much more easily. Same thing with the whole 3D TV thing and PlayStation Move. Like it's like once they realized that this isn't going to be like a huge moneymaker, screw it. It's like that's why like I understand people being reluctant for the whole PlayStation VR thing. It's just because they have a history of giving up.
Right. Yeah, it's really unfortunate because that, and like we'll come back to it now, is that it's a total cop-out to blame the mobile market.
Yeah, it's like, agreed. I would expect better from Shuhei, to be honest. Like, he's such a cool guy. It's like, how could he say something like that? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Vita really is like such an impressive piece of hardware. It is almost baffling how badly they dropped the ball on so many different levels with something with so much potential.
Yeah, and it's like with something with that much potential, it's really hard to screw it up, and they somehow did.
Somehow.
I mean, I can't say it's all bad, because it's like, I use mine almost every day. Like I use it all the time. I love the thing. So it's not all bad. Like I would still recommend, if somebody like wanted something like that to get it. Like I'd still recommend it over a 3DS. Like just because I just don't like the games on 3DS personally. So it's like, pretty much proving your point earlier that the 3DS isn't the same market as the Vita, which is very true. It's not. However, it's like it still could have been so much better. It's like they could have done so much with the Vita. So many different series that would have worked awesome on the Vita, and like. We could go on forever thinking of games that would have been cool on the Vita, but
well, I mean, you don't even think about like games that would have been cool because they like think about like if they announced today, they said we're making a new handheld, and like there's no Vita, and they said it's gonna have its own Resistance, it's gonna have its own Killzone, its own Uncharted, it's gonna have an exclusive Medium Molecule game, it's gonna have an exclusive game from Studio Japan. It's going to have Hot Shots Golf. I mean, that sounds like a dream list of games that are going to be on this console. And it had all those and just didn't make it work.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem is just this: they didn't keep it consistent. It's like they did do all those games, but it's like those were basically the only games because third parties weren't really supporting it at all. Like, I mean, we got that Assassin's Creed game, but it's even like that was totally half-assed. Like, you know what I mean? Like they couldn't even put decent audio files for that game. Like it's probably the worst sounding game on Vita as far as audio quality, and it's like That's what the third parties gave us. Well, other than Call of Duty, which is another half-ass effort. So it's like I don't know. I don't know if the third parties just wouldn't support it, or if Sony didn't try hard enough, or I'm not sure. Like as far as the software support, but like luckily we do have all the indie devs supporting it.
Yeah,
like,
the indies are strong. The PS Vita is a strong system for indie games, and a few big titles that aren't really great, but
yeah. I did kind of forget to mention Broken Age, like Double Fine. It's like they've done a couple games this year for PS4 and Vita, and they haven't delayed their Vita release. I really like that they're, unlike some other developers, like they came out with the PS4 version and the Vita version at the same time, which is really cool. Like more recently, Volume, it's been delayed over a month so far for the Vita version, even though it was supposed to be day one. What was it called? Resident Evil 2 Revelations 2,
yeah.
Or whatever. Axiom Verge.
Oh yeah, where's that at?
That's another one. Yeah, I guess apparently he said it should be out before the end of the year.
All right.
I guess he had a kid that had like some illness or something.
Yeah.
Did delay. That's totally understandable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
But it just seems like more and more developers are delaying the Vita version.
Actually, a while back, did you guys ever play that Cloudberry Kingdom game on PS3?
No.
It was like a platforming game. It was like an intense platforming game, but I liked the game so much. I was like, oh, it's a great game. It's from Ubisoft, and I was looking for a PS Vita version. Like, oh, this feels like a perfect game for Vita, and I looked it up, and I was looking at I was just searching through the internet, and apparently when the game came out, they announced a Vita version, and they never spoke of it ever again, and no one, and they never talked about it ever. Then they didn't cancel it, and they just dropped it. Just like, and that game came out like a good year and a half to 2 years ago. So the support's been dropping for a while.
Kind of like the whole BioShock Vita thing. Although apparently, I guess that wasn't gonna be what we thought it was, anyways. Like apparently, it was gonna be like a Final Fantasy Tactics.
Oh yeah, I remember reading about that.
It's like that would have been. I'm kind of glad it got canceled because it would have been such a disappointment. Oh, we got you BioShock on the Vita. Oh, but it's not BioShock really.
Yeah.
Plus the whole Gravity Rush 2 thing, they announced it as a Vita title, and then all of a sudden it's not a Vita at all. And It's just PS4. So it's like it's pretty clear that things are ending. Although we still have an actual Vita exclusive coming out by the guys who made the absolutely amazing Guacamelee. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, Severed.
Yeah, Severed.
And it's like the concept behind it seems a little strange, but apparently the people who have tried it said it's awesome. Like they said it's really, really good. So definitely excited about that. So I guess that might be the last major exclusive we get for the Vita.
Actually, there's one more coming out that I read about today. Did you see this news?
Oh yeah.
Phineas and Ferb, they have a game coming out. PS Vita exclusive. Weird, I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I did also hear there was like a certain horror game, and it's only coming out for like iPhone or iPad and Vita.
That's weird.
Yeah. It's like they're not going to PC or any of the major consoles, just mobile and Vita. Damn. Have to edit that out later. But
no, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like we got a couple games left before the Vita dies completely. But luckily I have a huge backlog. I don't know about you guys. Yeah. Especially with all the PS Plus games, it's like it's kind of hard not to have a pretty big backlog on the Vita. So I guess it's not all bad. Like I would still recommend Vita to anyone that has to ride on a train a lot, or has to have something to do when they're just on break at work or something, like me, which I use it mostly for. But it could have been the greatest handheld ever, I think, if they just, supported it more and got some more support from third parties. And unfortunately, that's not what happened, though. So we'll just have to wonder if Sony is crazy enough to make another Vita, Vita 2, or... I personally, I kind of would like it if they would go with a different name. Like, I never liked the Vita name from the start, personally. Did you guys?
Yeah, I think
they
you
should
need
have done
something
PSP2?
way more like literal and deliberate PlayStation Portable. PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
You gotta know, like, it just doesn't sound like, you need to wonder what it is. You don't know what it is.
Totally.
By hearing
Totally.
the name.
Like, it's like when people ask me, "Hey, what is that thing?" And I'm like, "It's a PlayStation Vita." And it's like sometimes I don't even want to say that because it's just like, they'll be like, "Oh, what the hell is that?" Because it's like it describes nothing. Like, you know what I mean? No one knows that Vita means life and PlayStation Life is just blah blah blah. That it's almost as bad as Xbox One. As far as
that's pretty bad.
names go.
I hate to cut this short,
too.
but I have to go real quick. So
all right, we're about to wrap it up anyway. So,
all right, cool.
That works out fine.
It was cool being on here. So I will talk to you guys on the next podcast.
Awesome.
See ya.
All right, see you guys later.
But yeah, like I think it would have been cool if they just did PSP2 or even NGP, which is what was the code name. Like
that would have been perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm sure like and kind of like in closing, you gotta hope that they're at least taking all this in, getting all this information, all these failings, all these mistakes, and learning from them. And if they do give it another go, that they'll understand like what they have to do to make it successful. And kind of like the PlayStation VR, to that point, the PlayStation VR, they changed the name to make it absolutely clear what that thing is. That is a PlayStation VR machine. And you can't get confused with PlayStation VR.
That's true. I did
Just
love
like
the Morpheus
PSP
name, but apparently there are some people that have not seen The Matrix and don't know what Morpheus is. Somehow. There are people like that out there, unfortunately.
I mean, it's just like Vita. If you don't know it means life, you don't get it.
Yeah. Although I do think there are quite a bit more people that know what Morpheus is than Vita. But, yeah, like it is definitely good branding for sure. Calling it VR because it is VR, and I do think that VR will not end up like the Vita. I think I've mentioned it before, but just from the racing game support alone, I think it'll have, more life to it than, another Vita or a PlayStation Move situation would. It's like, even if it doesn't end up being totally supported, which I don't think will happen, I really do kind of believe in the fact that VR might change gaming. Like, I think it could change gaming completely. Like, it could be the best thing since dual analog sticks or something like that. Like, I do think it could be pretty huge, but I think at least the people that buy it, especially if you play racing games, will get their money's worth, which is why I am personally gonna get it pretty early, assuming the price isn't horrible.
I'll probably pre-order it for day one, no matter what, but I still think I think it's gonna fail.
You think so?
I think
one thing I think that would make it almost definitely succeed is if it also worked on PC.
They're not going to do that.
I don't think they will, but I think that would definitely help it. Like, cause it would,
oh yeah, for sure.
Like, especially if it was like a cheap alternative to the Oculus,
Like when you see people playing with it and they have, they need moves in their hands, PlayStation Move.
Oh,
that's
true.
That is not going to work. People didn't buy moves and they were like $50.
I'm sure that there would be an alternative to make it work on PC though. Like I know they could make a way around that for sure. And even on PS4, I don't think you're gonna have to use the Move necessarily. Although
The
I do
only
know
way
you do need the
the
camera.
only way
though.
I see the PlayStation VR succeeding is if they kind of have like a second generation with the next generation PlayStation. You know what I mean? Like they don't give up on it. They improve
Oh,
upon
yeah.
it and make the real one that's going to have the real games. Because by that point, VR will actually be a thing. You know?
I mean, also if they do one for PS5, basically, I think at that point it could be something where like every PS4 game could support it, like it is
Agreed.
with the Vita.
And that's
the
kind of
remote play.
that's kind of what I'm going with. That is saying
Yeah.
that VR will actually be a thing people know about. People have it in their homes. You know, because PlayStation VR, you know, it's going to sell to a fraction of PlayStation 4 owners. And that's just not
Yeah.
enough people, you know, to really get the word out there. It'll be a lot, I think. I think it'll actually sell more than Move, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
especially as a percentage of the install base of
I
PS4s.
think it could probably outsell Vita.
Yeah, definitely. I would say definitely, especially when it's all said and done. But I think it's kind of strange to say, but I think Oculus is going to have almost just as much to do with the PlayStation VR success as the PlayStation VR has to do with its own success. I think the Oculus is going to be the device that makes VR a thing. You know?
Yeah, that is one of the other reasons that I think that Morpheus won't be a failure is because Oculus has got a steady, you know, flow of support from, you know, developers on PC, and it's, you know, PlayStation VR is a perfect platform for them as well. So it's like I totally see them, you know, making, you know, all the people that are making games for Oculus now are going to start making their games for VR, for PlayStation VR as well. So it's like, I think that's just another thing that is going in the PlayStation VR's favor.
And that'll be really interesting because we kind of are going long here, but you know that'll be really interesting to see because they haven't really touched on that yet. Neither PlayStation nor Oculus have really touched on the fact that, you know, our things could be multi-platform. Obviously they are.
I think so.
But
yeah.
I really haven't heard much about that. You know, people go to these conferences, they don't really say like this is on Oculus and PlayStation VR.
Yeah, I think there are like some games though, like I know Eve Valkyrie, which is I think one of the most interesting looking PlayStation VR games. That is going to be for Oculus and
right.
You know, PlayStation VR, and also of course racing games, like Project Cars, you know, that's on PC, and Assetto Corsa. I think that already supports Oculus. It is going to support PlayStation VR when it comes on PS4. So like there is I think it's right off the bat. I think it has a little more support than, you know, like a Move or some of the peripherals in the past, like, or even the Vita, just because of, you know, the relation with PC, the fact that PS4 is x86, so it's pretty easy for PC developers to port stuff over, and also the fact that the PlayStation VR does have similar like specs, hardware specs at least, to the Oculus. The only thing I really think this will make or break PlayStation VR is nausea, like how well it actually works, because if a lot of people get nauseous from the thing, that'll kill the thing. Like it will be a failure right from that alone. Like if it starts getting like the stigma of being something that might make you nauseous, which VR already kind of has, but they're both kind of in beta, so like I don't think people are. But when it actually releases, I mean, if it is making people sick, like even a small percentage, and like that word of mouth gets out, I think that could kill it. Like they could really.
I've heard mixed reviews on that so far. People say like after a half hour they get sick, or people say no, it doesn't bother them at all.
I heard some of that when it is also game to game basis though. I have heard that like there's some games that are perfectly fine, and then others that like do cause an issue. But it's mostly down to the frame rate. Like that's one of the reasons why like I tell people when they're talking about VR, like, you know, don't expect PS4 graphics, expect PS3 graphics at 1080p because they have to be 60 FPS at least, and they cannot go lower. Like, it has to be locked 60 FPS. Although it might even be higher because the headset can do 120 hertz or 90. Which, I mean, that doesn't mean that they can't do 60 FPS, but I've heard that 60 FPS is the absolute bottom limit that you can do, and it can't go below, because like any type of judder or stuff like that, like any frame rate fluctuation is also a nightmare, which will also cause nausea. So I think it is very much dependent on whether, you know, they can make sure that these games are not making people sick. Like, there's always going to be some people that'll get sick anyways, just from the vision, like, you know, just what's going on to begin with. But like, if it's making a lot of people sick, you know, because of the frame rate isn't perfect or whatever, then I think it'll fail. Like, but I'm hoping that they, you know not to do that, and they're making sure that the developers know that as well, because I think, you know, them testing the games before they put it on VR is very important, much more so than with PS4, like regular games, I mean. Also, I do think another important thing is to not rely on the Move. Like, I think they should make sure that every game that does support the Move can also support the DualShock 4. Like, except for maybe specific cases, but I think for the most part, I don't think they should be relying on the Move. Like, it might be better for some games, but I think they should still have the DualShock 4 as an option, because there are going to be some people that just won't even buy the Move with the PlayStation VR if they don't have to. And
that'll be really interesting to see how that works, because part of me feels like those would really help the experience, you know? Just using your hands as, you know, your real hands. Because you see the Oculus when they have those games, and it works better.
Yeah.
But
it depends on the game, though. I mean, like as far as like a shooting game, or even just like a walking simulator, like a horror type thing, like I think it would just be better on a controller, like and especially something like Eve Valkyrie, like I think, you know, either controller or an actual joystick, which I think some do work on PS4, but it's like I think that they should avoid trying to have every game use the Move, especially because, I mean, I don't think they're trying to sell more moves or anything like that. So it's
I don't think so.
Especially
I haven't heard a lot about that from the conferences either thus far. I guess I'll probably try it myself at PSX, but we'll see.
You lucky bastard.
It's gonna be fantastic. But let's wrap this thing up.
Sounds good. Thanks for. It's funny because we thought this one was gonna be short.
I know. That's how it gets when you start talking about PlayStation and especially Vita. It's going on forever.
Very true. But thanks for listening, everybody. We will see you next time.